Going on, soldier? It is Drill Sergeant Game Dev Zombie Virals here, and I am going to start off with the very basics of game dev. This is going to be a tutorial series, might even turn out to a game. Now, this is geared towards the straight up beginner. So we're going to start off very simple. So let's begin without further ado. Alright, enough of that drill sergeant nonsense. Even though I got a shaved head, I'm not really like that. I'm just, I'm just joking. Anyway, boom, Unity, Visual Studio. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything from this scene. Oh, there's nothing. Crap. Control Z, it is all back. Okay. I just gotta delete a few things from this scene so I can start you. Alright, this is how it would normally start off. Sample scene. Right click, move around. Learn all this stuff. I'm not gonna hold your hand. Just get used to it. You can move things around. UI, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm going with is the core, what I consider the core concepts of game dev is communication between objects using scripts. And then you got to communicate with them as well with whatever kind of user input. The keyboard, the mouse, the game controller, the fucking touchpad. Anywho, so we got project here. We'll delete this script. Well, we're going to, at least, walk you through this. Materials, delete. Scripts, delete. Okay. This is how it would start off. You would have your scene in your scenes folder, your directional light, your main camera, and, okay, right click. 3D object, plane. And it just spawns anywhere. So you have this up here. Rename it to ground. And reset the transform. And I've already moved the camera, but, you'll figure out how to move the camera to where you want it. And this is how I have it. So we have the ground. What we're going to do is we're going to create a folder. I'm going to call it materials. We're going to create another folder. Right click, create folder, scripts. This is all we need for this extremely simple tutorial. So don't overwhelm yourself. If this is too overwhelming, you can take a break.
It's time to stop.
Anywho, enough of that. Okay, let's right click over here in the hierarchy. I like to have my, usually people have their hierarchy up here. I prefer to have it down here. That way I can have space for the game view and the scene view. Right click, 3D object, cube, and reset that. Right click, reset. I'm going to call it, rename, falling cube. And I am going to, it's selected right now. So I like to hold down the control button to kind of snap to the grid. We'll bring it all the way up here. And just go ahead and hit play. And it's going to do nothing. It has an automatic collider on it, but it doesn't have any rigid body yet for it to fall with. So that's when you want to add a component. Type in rigid body, not 2D, just regular rigid body. And now, wait for it. Boom. We have gravity on that cube. Right out of the box. Unity handles that. Okay. Just for the sake of it, navigate to the materials folder. Right click, create material. Call it red. We'll right click, create another material. We'll call it blue. And have blue selected in the inspector. You get the color wheel. Boom. It's a blue material. Red. We don't want it to be white. It's got to be red. Same thing. All right. Drag red to the cube. You can make sure just the cube, not the plane, the floor, ground, whatever. All right. Next, we will go ahead and Control D duplicates the falling cube. Right click on that and rename to player. This is going to be our player object that's going to be affected by this falling cube. It's selected now. Right, and control left click, drag down to the ground. And in this case, it's 0.5. Drag the blue material to the player cube. And if you have the player cube selected, tag player. So now this has a tag called player. It has a box collider. And this has the rigid body. When you have a collision and you want it to be detected, at least one of the objects has to have a rigid body, or it won't work. Just trust me on that. And this is like an automatic collision anyway. This is just from gravity. So we're going to assets on scripts. You know what? We got the player tagged. We want the falling cube has untagged. We're going to add a tag, and we're going to see this list is empty. Hit the plus sign and type in hazard. Simple. Now, but that's not going to automatically do it. You got to click on falling cube again. It's still untagged. Tag it as hazard. If you have to rewind, slow it down, whatever. You got to get this stuff down. This is the simple game dev core philosophy tutorial. Communicating between objects. Now, right click. Make sure you're in the scripts folder. Create a script and call it. I'm going to just call it player. You know what? Player. Player. Just call it player. Stats. Because, it'll affect the health of the player. Drag player stats to player. So we got that tagged as hazard, and we have a script on player now called player stats, as you can see here. Once you double click on player stats. Oh, well, that's being kind of okay. As you see, we got the script up here, player stats. And this is the start method. When you hit play and run the game, in each of these scripts, the start method only runs one time. Well, I think there's some things you can do to, but we're not going to go into that. The update runs constantly. Remember that. But we don't need that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these and take them out. And hit Control S for save. Now what we want is on collision enter. And it'll automatically set it up. And as you can see here, it's got collision, collision. Collision in lowercase is basically whatever it makes contact with. So don't worry too much about the code here, but if parentheses collision, and this has got to be inside this on collision enter method or whatever you want to call it, dot game object with a lowercase g dot compare tag parentheses quotations hazard brackets. And you can go debug.log, or what I like to do, I just print. I don't need a debug.log, and ouch. Take damage. Or ouch, that hurt, or whatever you want to put. This just knows it's been hit. Simple. Save it. Back into Unity. And let it compile. As you'll see, there's this little thing that kind of runs down there as it's compiling. It's really hard to see, but it spins. Pay attention to that and just be patient. Now, see this here? Console. This will print it out when it hits, hopefully. So that's tagged hazard. And let's see what happens here. Ouch, that hurt. And it hit it twice because it kind of bounced off of it. So that's a little bit of a problem, but we're not going to go into that right now. We'll go into that later. We don't know what kind of game we're making yet, but we're aiming towards something. Probably involve falling hazards, whatever. Okay, and as a bonus, go into player stats, back into the script, Visual Studio, and what you want is public int, which stands for integer, which is just solid numbers, no decimals. There's lowercase player, uppercase health. This is what they call camel case. I like to use this on, a lot of things. And make it equal to 100. Just for simplicity's sake. And then, does that hurt? Go into this if statement. Player health minus equals 10. And then print these player health. Or you can be like player health comma, I think. No. Sorry, plus. Alright. Back into Unity. And since it's public, it'll show the health there. You can change it from there too. If it was private, it wouldn't show it. Unless, we won't go into that. That's complicated. I'll show you later how to make a private variable show up in the inspector on the script. These are two objects, player and a hazard communicating. And this is going to take damage. Pretty simple. Boom. Outside hurt 90, outside hurt 80. And I know ways I can fix that double hitting. But we're not going to get into that until the next tutorial. Alright, that's it for my first basics of game dev tutorial. I appreciate you tuning in. These tutorials will get more and more advanced as we go along. We're just going to crawl our way up to some sort of game. We don't know exactly what we're making yet. But we got falling hazard, we got a player object that can be easily changed to whatever, and we'll get them moving around at some point. We'll get into some jumping, I'm sure, and we'll just, we'll just kind of wing it, kind of freestyle it.
Coding around games is easier than you think.
Good night.